Hi, everybody, and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. Um, Today we are going to be talking about connecting the dots, actually, building a PLN. The reason that it's called connecting the dots is because there's 7 billion people in the world, and if you were to zoom out on a map, we would each look like a little dot. But we start making a beautiful picture when we connect. Definitely wanted to give a shout out to Mad PD. Thank you so much for having us. So if you want to tweet along with us, then please use the hashtag MadPD as well as EduMatch. So we're going to go ahead and introduce ourselves. I guess since I'm talking, I'll kick it off. My name is Sarah, and I am a regional technology coordinator in a district in Maryland, and I'm also the founder of the EduMatch project, which we will probably touch on a little bit later on today, but just peep it out at edumatch.org. All right, so we'll go from my left to my right. So if we could start next with Valerie, please.
All right, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right, I'm Valerie Lewis, an 11th, 12th grade language arts educator in Georgia, and I'm excited to be here and ready to talk about connecting.
Awesome. Glad to have you, Valerie. All right, next up we have Katie.
Hi guys, I'm a teacher librarian in Central California, all about connecting the dots, and co-founded Khaled Chat to help make those connections grow even more worldwide.
That is awesome. Welcome, Katie. Glad to have you here. And we're also glad to have Lesley.
Hi, my name is Lesley Fagan. I am an instructional technology coach for the Griffin-Spalding County School System in Griffin, Georgia, and I have the pleasure of working with the secondary school teachers in my district. Happy to be here.
Awesome. Happy to have you, and also happy to have Victor.
Hi, my name is Victor. Victor Small. I teach currently San Jose as a 9th grade high school teacher. Um, Currently, we're doing what else are we doing? We're doing the RJ League chats on Sundays. I think this Sunday is the last one till September, November. I can't. uh, and we got the RJ League Voxer group going to nothing but restorative justice and English literacy. That's me. That's how I do.
Awesome, Victor. Glad to have you here. And we had Jody. Jody, hey, right on time. If you could please introduce yourself.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
See me? There we go. Hey, I'm Jody Moskowitz, innovation and technology coach in Atlanta. And I was chapter 5 in the book. I don't know. What else would you like?
That's perfect for right now because we're going to get to know you a little bit in the conversation. So very glad to have you here.
Thanks.
And we have one more person who is scheduled to come with us. She said that she was a maybe, so we might be hearing from someone else a little later on today. So awesome. So the way that we're doing this today is going to be kind of ed campish. So I do have some questions, but I'm not going to ask a whole lot of them if all goes well. So I will kick it off though with the very first question that I want to ask you all. So my question is, what has been your experience with connecting? And before I say that, I should ask you, what does connecting mean? So let's kick that off. So let's actually combine them, merge them, consolidate. So what does connecting mean to you, and what has been your experience? So anyone who wants to answer can go ahead and jump in. Rock, paper, scissors.
All right, I'll go.
All right.
All right, so I would say connected means that you are establishing a relationship with others that are either like-minded or not, in order to stretch your thinking, challenge the status quo, in hopes of improving your practice. So through connecting with others, you can see a difference in opinions or perspectives that ultimately should grow you so that you can ultimately benefit the students.
I will echo what Valerie said. To me, being connected means that I have expanded my circle of influence. When I was still teaching in the classroom, pretty much I, interacted with the other teachers in my building. Rarely did I ever get out of the building, but now I can get on Twitter or Voxer or Facebook and get ideas or support from any number of people. So to me, that's what it means to be connected. And I can definitely say that who I am as an educator has improved dramatically since I became a connected educator.
Yeah, I'll echo that. It's been huge for opportunities from this book to presenting at conferences, and just it's really opened up the door to learning what's happening across the country and not being so isolated in one building or one district, but really being able to see what's happening everywhere instead of, just in one place.
Tackle is great for those small jobs.
Absolutely. And Katie, Victor, either one of you want to respond to what connecting means to you? And what? All right, go ahead, Victor.
Yeah, I'll jump in. And I would echo a lot of what's already been said. There's the support, there's the ideas, and there's the ease at which you could get them almost immediately. Before I felt like I was connected, you got to go looking for it. Well, now, you're connected, or I'm connected. It's easier to find answers. It's just ask, and they're there. You are you going through something? You just tell everyone, and they'll support you. I mean, it's a lot of what they're saying, and I think I'm a better teacher now because of it. Honestly.
Cool. And Katie, what about you?
I totally agree with what everyone else has been saying. Just being connected is the most fabulously amazing thing in the world. I would say that my job was a lot more difficult before I connected, trying to figure everything out on my own. Now my difficulty is doing all the wonderful things I hear about from my PLN. So it's a pleasant shift. And you have this team, anything I'm not sure about, I don't even Google it. I just go into Voxer and say, hey guys, I'm trying to do blank. Can you help me out? And it's a really fast response. I love it.
Awesome. Yes, absolutely. And I would also love to say connecting has it's meant everything to me. I started back in 2004, and this was pre-Twitter and just at the beginning of Facebook, but really not a lot of people, if anyone at all, was using it for professional use. And I have to say the first few years were really kind of, they were a steep learning curve, and I did feel really, really isolated. So I want to say that probably the 2 times in my own professional trajectory where I've kind of grown the most has been first in 2008 when I was encouraged to kind of use my strength and background in television production. And then again in 2013, there was another upswing when I started using Twitter professionally. So absolutely, I concur with everything that everyone has said. So, all right, so here's another question for y'all. How do we encourage others to get connected? And shout out to Lesley for this question because she came up with it. So how do we help other people get connected? So Katie, did you want to jump on that?
Yeah, I think the first thing is to know who you're talking with, because you might be, well, okay, I'll just confess. Yes, I am that one psycho person I was going to metaphorically talk about. I can hear someone saying, hey, blank is awesome, and I will turn around tomorrow and do it in my classroom. No questions asked. I'm ready to rock and roll. But that's one extreme. And then you have these other people that they need to hear it like 3 or 4 times before they're even like quasi-comfortable doing it themselves. And neither is wrong, but you gotta know who you're talking with. So going shoulder to shoulder with someone when I'm showing them how to get connected seems to be the best way for both those 2 extremes. The ones that are ready to rock and roll, like, okay, I got it, you can go away. The other ones that want some more support, like, can you stay here just a little bit more? Can you do this one more thing? But I already took that step to like give them my time side by side and making them feel loved.
And so absolutely, I think knowing who you're talking to is a perfect in. And I do a lot of professional learning, and so I incorporate that into my professional learning. So showing people how to get set up on Twitter or Voxer or different tools, because to me, we talk a lot in our school about professional learning, or excuse me, personalized learning for students. But then I tell them, you know, personalized learning for them is also really important. So I show them how they can get personalized learning for themselves when they need it. And I think, I think that Twitter and Voxer are two just perfect ways. And so by helping them kind of get set up in accounts and get set up with people who are going to be perfect for them to connect with, and then how to do a Twitter chat. So modeling one and doing a mock one so that they're really comfortable when they go off on their own and do it as a nice first step.
And I would jump in very quickly and say that Randall Sampson has a program on that he talks about a lot on Twitter about personalized professional learning. So when you said that reminded me of it, but about like how we can use social media to grow and to learn. So absolutely. All right, Valerie.
Yeah, I'll jump in and say too, not only just knowing who you're connecting with, but just knowing as well what their interests are and what their strengths may be. Because sometimes people may not know who else is out there or where else they can go to find people that have similar interests. And so sometimes you being connected may lead someone in the right direction because you know who they are and things that they're interested in. And so you might be able to expose them or introduce them to a whole nother world that they didn't realize existed.
Exactly, that's the truth. Yes, I almost want to sing Aladdin right now. Shout out to Tara Linney. All right, Victor, how about you?
Yeah, I think there's two things that I try to communicate. It's you don't know what you don't know, and it's easy. I mean, you download the app. You you download the app. You search for what information you're looking for, because there's probably a Twitter chat that is about what you need to know or what you want to know or what you want to get better at. I mean, and then you could probably be on Twitter and watch TV. I mean, it's really not a ton of work. You don't necessarily, I mean, just starting off, you don't necessarily need a picture. It helps. I mean, you don't necessarily need to know where to go, generally. These are things that get figured out over time. I mean, there are chats that I still look for, that I still look for that probably haven't even been created yet, that will be created in the fall, that will likely help me out. So there's so much that's out there. There's so much that's being shared, and it changes so often. And there's so much new stuff being thrown out there that just being available for it really is really where you get a lot of the good stuff from. I hope that makes sense. It sounds like something that sounds doable there, but yeah, that's basically that.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And as you were talking then, I just dropped a resource on Twitter about Cyberman's page. He has like the whole internet cataloged when it comes to educational resources. So he, Tom Murray, I think Jonathan Rochelle, and there were a few other people. They crowdsourced a list of Twitter chats. So that is now, I just dropped that tweet. So Lesley, what about you?
Like the others, I try to tie it into the professional development that I'm doing. Or if I'm having a conversation, for instance, it might have been about a week or so ago, I was on the phone with my cousin. She's the ELA World Languages Coordinator in another county, and she's getting ready to do a presentation on literacy and culturally responsive teaching. And she asked me, what did I think of it? And, some ideas. And I gave her my ideas, and I said, also, you can get on Twitter and use the hashtag and ask other people. And she's like, really? And I've been after her for probably 3 or 4 years to get more involved in Twitter. And her idea is just retweeting. I'm like, no, you need to have conversations with people. There's a lot of good stuff out there. I did a training. One of our middle schools is wanting to use Google Hangouts for their in-school suspension kids. And I might have mentioned this, but I was at their school doing a training. And then I told the teachers, I said, you know, if you go on Twitter and use this hashtag, you can find other resources and you can, you know, show your kids other things that are going on in the classroom, you know, Google Hangouts and Google Expeditions. Every opportunity I get to tell people to get on social media, not to talk about what they're eating or where they've been, but in an educational way, because there's so much out there and we can't necessarily go everywhere because of limited resources. But if you just ask somebody, they're willing to share, and you can just show your students so many things. And, you know, what is it they say about, you know, flattening the walls of our classrooms? We can do that with social media.
Absolutely. So something you said, just wanted to definitely follow up on that. So you talked about like how someone might go on there and retweet as opposed to engaging with people, right? So I can kind of say that that I have, you know, in my own journey, then I've seen like lots of things going on. But I just want to ask y'all a question, which may or may not be controversial. I don't know, might be doing too much in my mind. But what's the difference, if there is any, between connecting and branding, and why? Let's start singing the Jeopardy music in a second. So no, I'm just joking. All right, go ahead, Lesley.
Connecting to me is where you are just, you know, having a two-way conversation. If I'm an expert in, well, heck, I don't know what I'm an expert in. Well, if I had, you know, an area that I were an expert in and I could share those resources and people could come to me, that's to me simply connecting. Branding is more about like what you've done with EduMatch, or what Alice Keeler is doing with, you know, Google Classroom and Google Sheets, and Casey Bell. Those people to me have built a brand. And we in the educational world know that those are the go-to people because they have just cultivated so many resources that that's part of their brand. And they've taken the connecting part of social media to a much higher level than, well, I know it's a much higher level than what I'm on. I say I want to build a brand, but still trying to figure out what my brand is. So that to me is the difference between just connecting and building a brand. I don't know if that made sense. Hope it did. And if it didn't, somebody else can maybe elaborate a little bit better than I did.
That was good. Thank you for your insight. And anyone else have similar or alternate take on that? Victor, I see you unmuted.
Yeah, I would say if you have a logo, you got a brand. You got a brand. If you got a logo, you got a brand. You have a brand. If you're going out and you're sharing that logo and you're trying to get others to see the logo, you got a brand. And that's something that is to be commended. If you're there and you're looking for information and you're looking to share information, and you're looking to gain information, well, you're connecting. It's possible to have a brand and try to connect. It's possible to use your brand for connecting. But, you know, even though they can both happen at the same time, they're two very different things. It's two very different things. Like if you got a shirt, you got your name on a shirt, you got whatever your thing is on a shirt, that's a brand. You're trying to sell your book, that's a brand. You're branding. If you made a website that's a free website that everyone could go to get information, there's like no ads or anything on that website, that's connecting. So I think what it boils down to it is, you know, what it is that you're doing when you're out. Are you looking to continue conversations? Well, that's connecting. Are you doing so with your brand? So I think that there's a lot of room for both to happen at the same time, but they're two very different things.
All right, see you unmuted.
Another angle I have. Yeah, I think, or I hope at least in my instance, that my connection is in fact my branding. I'm reaching out to people because of who I am and what I want to learn more and who I want to help. And simultaneously, whether I like it or not, a brand is being created about me. There are things that are said about me when I'm not around, and that's kind of your brand. So even though it's not an official label or I'm not selling something, there's still an image that gets put out. And that's something I try to reiterate with all of my students too. Whether or not you have a label you're assigning to yourself, a brand gets created even more so when you're connected at a global level.
So there we go. So I also take it as the way we brand our school, because I think that social media has been so huge for us to be able to do that. So I think of branding as how we tell our school story, because I do a lot. I don't know if control is the right word. I run the social media for our school, and so we do a lot with Instagram and Twitter, and really letting our community know what's happening in the school. So kind of, we know the news doesn't show up till something bad happens. So really try to control and let everyone know our story, and branding our schools in different ways using social media. So I kind of thought about it in that light also.
Cool. And Valerie, I know that you just rejoined us. So we're talking about the difference, if there is a difference, and what is the difference between connecting versus branding. So if you want to jump in and give your take on that.
Good question. I don't know. That's a very good question. When you're talking about branding, I think branding is going to be anything that you kind of set as your footprint, or is your reputation. And, however you look at that from a marketing standpoint, it's what you are, it's who you are, it's what you do. So in every situation, you can brand yourself in a positive or a negative way. But as schools, I think it is essential for us to develop some type of brand. People want to know who you are as a business, as a school climate, as leaders in a building, as teachers, as learners. So it is important to connect so that you see who else is out there as well. But not only that, we know that we're in this work with lots of other great brains, and we can't do this work alone. And so it definitely means that we need to be able to join forces. And so that's where that connection comes in. And we connect with other people that match and model the brand that we want to put out there. And so if there's a difference, I think so. But are both necessary? Absolutely.
Awesome. Yes. Okay. So sorry for the delay. I'm just kind of dropping something on Twitter right now. But as y'all were talking, you kind of triggered something in me. A couple of blog posts that I wrote about branding. The first one about like kind of making the decision to this one was from 2013, and it was inspired after an EdCam session from Joe Sanfilippo and Tony Sinancis, and they were talking about the need to share our stories, right? So so it really kind of resonated with me about like sharing your story. And then the second one is branding a dirty word. That one came from a conversation during EdCamp Arlington a few years back. But I think that both are good. Connecting is awesome. Branding is awesome. Just like many of you have said, then I think that it's good when it goes, hand in hand. In addition, I would say that branding is just like y'all said. There's going to be a brand made about you, whether you like it or not. So, kind of putting out that information to say who you are. This is what I support. This is what I don't support. Then that's basic branding right there. And we all kind of do it. So amplifying things that we believe in, and also kind of sharing. Now with connecting, then definitely that's like a two-way street for me. That's like kind of a plug, you know, you put a plug in a socket and the electricity flows in while the plug is in the socket, if that makes any kind of sense. So it's like a two-way type thing. To me, there's like there is kind of a danger when branding is done without connecting, because then you might start having, you know, people just be out there pushing out their stuff, pushing, and it might, you know, without kind of giving and taking at the same time, without that interaction. That's just my personal opinion. I'm not speaking on behalf of the panel at all, but definitely an ideal mix of branding and connecting would be my go-to. Cool. Any other thoughts on this before we move on? And please feel free to elaborate as much or as little as you want.
Sarah, I wanted to jump in when you talked about the importance of sharing your story. I know that TED Talk, oh gosh, I don't want to butcher her name, but is it Chimamanda Adichie? Where she gives that TED Talk about the danger of a single story. And from state to state, region to region, city to city, you know, country to country, the stories at each school vary, even though we all share one common purpose, to help students learn and achieve their potential. But how we all get there, that journey is different, right? It looks different. And so it is important for us all to share our stories, because that story that we share may hit home for someone else who's probably experiencing some of the obstacles that we have. And by us sharing our story, we're helping them to kind of get through, or we might find value in someone else's story. So when you talked about the power of each person sharing their story, that's absolutely pertinent and important.
Absolutely. Definitely agreed with that. And I love that TED Talk. That is a great, great, great one. Absolutely. Any other thoughts on the topic? All right, cool. So, all right, so that was kind of deep. We went down that rabbit hole. Cool. Loved it. All right, so another question for you all is, what has been your biggest win so far in terms of connecting? Like anytime you collaborated, some great projects that might have come out of it, or maybe something that really had an impact on your students or your learning community. What have been like those moments, those rah rah sis boom ba?
I'm going to go ahead and say the book, the Edu Match book, Edu Snap 16, Snapshot in Education. That, if I weren't connected, that definitely would not have happened. And I put writing a book on my bucket list years ago, and I never really thought that it was going to become a reality. But when I got my copy in the mail, well, heck, actually, when I saw the first draft of it, I was like, oh my gosh, this is for real. And I was showing everybody, you know, the cover of the book with my name on it. And, you know, I tell people all the time, I wrote a book with people, some I've met face to face, but the vast majority of the people I had not met. And I said, it's all because of being a connected educator and talking to these people on Twitter and Voxer and, you know, the EduMatch tweet and talk, stuff like that. So to me, that by far is my biggest win. And I think even though the book has been out for a while, every time I see it or think about it, I still get that same giddy feeling that I got the day that I submitted my chapter, right there at the deadline. I was like, it's done, but now I can go on Amazon.com and see this book that I contributed to, and it wouldn't have happened otherwise. So that's my win.
Awesome, Lesley. Yes, and we're going to talk a little bit more about the book later on, but absolutely. Victor, what about you?
Yeah, this has been a series of winning that I've occurred since I've connected. It's been a strange amount of winning, and it made me kind of feel like I've been losing so much before. It's actually incredible. I'd say definitely being able to write for this upcoming book. That's a gigantic win for the same reasons that Lesley was talking about. It had always been something on my bucket list to write a book, and the idea that I can write, like, and contribute to a book, and it could show up and have my name on it, like that right there, that's that's amazing. I mean, there's so much that that I've gotten this year. I mean, I didn't even know about presenting at conferences. That it was even a thing that I could do, and I did it. And I had no idea that like I could learn more about restorative justice. Like no one else was talking about it, like, that I ever had heard of, or, whenever I asked, it was like a bad word. And then like we made the chat, we made the group, and it's been awesome since. I mean, there's so much, there's like my quality of educational knowledge, I feel, has been greatly increased because of just all of this. I mean, if I had to boil it down to one win, I'd have to say, like, just one overarching win. I'd say the fact that I can just ask a question now and I can get an answer, a legit answer that I can actually implement the next day. I mean, that in of itself is winning upon winning upon winning upon winning. Like, I don't know if everyone will see this, in a podcast. I kind of want to do a touchdown dance because of it. But, that's all I got. That's all I got. Let me bow out now. All right, I'm done.
I agree with Victor and Lesley. Definitely, the power of connection is the biggest win. The fact that you can get together with people that say you are good enough. I think there's so much power in that. Out of getting the you are good enough and that validation that your voice actually matters comes all these other things, becoming authors or moderating chats or, end results. For me, it was things like Ed Obstacles and Pass the Scope EDU. None of which happened with people that were in my actual building face to face, but happened with people, as Lesley mentioned, some of which I've seen face to face, and others that I've never gotten a chance to meet. But having a community of people that will encourage you, support you, hold you accountable for what it is that you want to do, that is the biggest win there, that you are good enough. Your voice actually does matter.
Love it. Love it. All right. So let's go next to Jody.
Hey, yeah, I think that it's not one thing, but it's just that ability that I think back to years ago when we were rolling out bring your own technology and not having anyone close to who had done it, and just being able to reach out and figure it out with people who had, or having projects, and again, just not having anyone locally who had done it. Same thing when we were rolling out our one-to-one iPads, just picking people's brains and kind of figuring out the good, the bad, and the ugly, and really having this huge network to pull from and get ideas really far in advance, and just kind of find out what was working for people and what wasn't, and then just be the better for it once we did it. So for me, that's been the big win, is with projects, with rollouts, with whatever's going on. If we're trailblazing in our area, being able to have that network to talk to.
Great. And Katie?
Yeah, I love sharing what I'm learning, and being connected totally puts all that stuff together. So like this last year, badging was my big thing. I just went out and I asked people, hey, can you help me figure this out? And guess what? I was like so shocked. No one said no. Like everyone legit helped me. Like, okay, I need some more help. Can I get some one-on-one time? I got people's phone numbers. They don't know me, but they gave me their phone number. I got to do a Google Hangout to like learn stuff a little bit more. And then I find out about conferences I would have never known about, even conferences that are just 2 hours away. And I'm asked to present at it. Why? Because I was connected, and people start to know what you're doing, and because they know about you, because you're connected. But I would not have grown or been able to help other people grow if I wasn't involved in learning and sharing and getting all of that goodness out there.
Absolutely. I can definitely second that. I had done a few conferences in my area when I prior to connecting. But once I started connecting, then just hearing about more local opportunities to meet new people and to go meet them in person, to talk with them, to learn with them. It's just been amazing. All right. So Lesley, what about you? I don't know did you already answer this question?
I did, but I always have something to say, so I can say more if that's okay. I want to piggyback a little bit what Valerie said. I did my first professional conference right before I left the classroom, and our Department of Education here in Georgia did some literacy workshops, and I presented with two of my colleagues. And after the first session, I was just in awe because all of these English teachers from across the state were, asking, how did you do this? And it was like, wait a minute, somebody values what I'm saying. Because when I was still teaching in the classroom, my students would periodically listen to me, and my coworkers periodically would listen to me. But to have other people ask me for my email address and say, hey, can you walk me through how your school did this school-wide literacy plan? So to me, it was nice to be validated as an educator. And since I've become an instructional technology coach, that's been the norm. And it's so, I guess, refreshing to know that people value my knowledge enough to want to seek me out. So, when I go to conferences and I come back and I get messages, hey, how did you do this? Can you tell me, can you share, what do I have to do? It's nice to know that people want to know what you know because they think enough of you. So that to me has been a big win. And also, and my colleague, Robin, always says that I don't brag on myself enough. So I'm going to take this opportunity. Next month at ISTE, at the PLN breakfast, they're going to give out awards. And I'm the recipient of the ISTE EdTech Coaches PLN Award for EdTech Coach of the Year. So I guess the book and this award, that's a pretty, it's a big deal. So I'm excited about that. So I'm going to say, whatever else happens, I'm riding a high from that, but things can only get better because I'm connected and I always have people that I can go to keep pushing me on and encouraging me and putting opportunities out there. We do that for our students, but who does that for us? The answer, the people in our PLN. So thanks, guys.
Wonderful, Lesley. Thank you so much for sharing that, and congratulations to you. That is just amazing. So love it. Love it. So the next question that I have for the panel is, what's been your biggest challenge regarding connecting? So Katie, what do you think? All right, you might be frozen. That might be a challenge right there. I'm just joking. I'm just kidding. But anyone else want to jump in on that one while she comes back?
My challenge sometimes is time, because I have so many things going on. I feel guilty about, not checking in periodically, I'm probably the world's worst Voxer person because I'm in a ton of Voxer groups, and I may pop in, every week. Okay, let me be honest. Every month I will get caught up, but I like the information and it's valuable. So it's nice, but it's just, I have stuff going on with work and then, my volunteer commitments that I have in my community. And I've been a foster mom for about a little bit better than a month. So now I have an 8-year-old that I'm having to take care of, which is an awesome experience if you've not done it. But it's, just time. The desire is there, but I just can't figure out how to make my day longer than 24 hours. So if anybody has the answer to that, please share, because I would love to know.
Oh man, I can definitely relate to that. Yes, definitely. All right, so what about you? All right, so I see Valerie. Go ahead, Valerie.
Now, I was going to say, Lesley, you're not getting the answer to that, at least not today, on how to make time. But I do agree that time would be one of the biggest challenges, and balancing it all out. So here I am today, just, kids wanted to get out. It's a day in the park. And here I am trying to stay connected at the same time. So I think the biggest challenge is balance. Will we be perfect at all things all the time? Absolutely not. Today I may be a phenomenal mommy, and then tomorrow I'll just have to be a phenomenal educator. So yes. Yeah, see, and as you can see here in the background, people are like, Valerie, really?
Really, Really?
Oh my gosh, that is too funny. All right, Katie, do we have you with us?
Yeah, sorry. So I caught part of you like laughing at me. Yes, getting frozen is indeed an issue with being connected, but at least people love you and they give you grace. So yay. But true story, I've only really been connected for a year. My anniversary coincides with the big Edgy Match event coming up in July. Yep. So my biggest issue was really getting over my own grief, my own funk, like not valuing myself enough to think people cared that I needed help, not thinking I was good enough or worthy of these experts helping me out. I remember getting like starstruck when Dave Burgess from Teach Like a Pirate followed me, like, oh my gosh, I like reached some status thing. But no, like everyone out there is really nice. I mean, like if you go and join some psycho groups, that's different. But if you stay in the education field, yes, all of us are pretty nice and eager to help each other.
Absolutely. I love your answer in so many ways, because you just said so much there in terms of just everything, the way that we kind of the barriers that we kind of face putting ourselves out there, thinking that nobody necessarily wants to connect, but it's just so empowering, and it's great just making those connections. And I can say, being an introvert myself, connecting has opened up a whole world to me that would not ordinarily be there. I'd be the one who'd go and sit in the back of the room at the conference, or look for the table where I can sit by myself. But now with social media, with this great PLN, then now I'm like looking for y'all and like every time I see you. So totally extroverting out. I don't even know how that happened. Okay, Victor, how about you?
I would say, in addition to the obvious hurdle that is time, yeah, I'd say two things. I'd say being present in your life in the moment, which I think is something that social networking sites make it a little hard to do. I think that's one. I think the other one is really the confidence to see the knowledge that you have as actually being something worthwhile to share out. And I think that's something that takes a while. I don't think that that's something that happens the first time that you go into a Twitter chat, or the first time that you go in a Voxer chat. No, the first time that you're in those, you probably listen, you probably read. It takes a while to work up the courage to answer a question. Like to really value that you have something to add. That right there, that's something that takes a little bit. It's easy to do if it's on your Facebook page and like all your friends are like like it's your friends that is listening. But when you're on Voxer, when you're on Twitter, that anyone can look at this, and you don't really know who's listening or who's looking. So to have that confidence within yourself to answer the question, to put your answers out there for the experts in the field to dissect and to think about, that that's kind of a scary moment too.
That is true. Definitely putting your opinion out there can be hard, and sometimes we struggle with who's really going to want to listen to us, just like how you said, Victor. So, but definitely there are people out there who do want to listen and who do want to learn from you and with you. Absolutely. So going next to Jody.
So I would have to agree with Victor. Definitely the putting yourself out there, kind of for the world, for millions, whatever, is first. And then second is just the naysayers. A lot of people, at least around here, social media really has not picked up steam even today. Whereas I feel like I've been on it forever and it's old news. Even in the education world, it just hasn't picked up steam at all. And so trying to, if not win them over, just why it's such a great thing, and kind of I don't know if deflect is the right word, but just kind of deflect off of them, and just go positive with how beneficial it is. So.
Absolutely. So you raised a very good point there about how to respond to naysayers. And that that might tie in with an earlier topic that we were talking about as well, how to get people connected, because some of them may also be naysayers. But in any way, shape, or form, how do you respond to naysayers who are either against your use of social media or their own use of social media, like just open bad? How would you respond to either one of those situations? And anyone can feel free to jump in. Lesley, go ahead.
I tell people, just like with anything, there's good and there's bad. You know, there's good stuff on TV, there's good music on the radio, there's bad music on the radio, bad stuff on TV. There's a lot of foolishness on Twitter. And when I first got on Twitter, I had my personal Twitter account. And on my personal Twitter account, my little bio thing said, "Don't ask to follow me because you're going to be rejected." That was my, seriously, it doesn't say that anymore because I realized the inappropriateness of it. But that was my place to go and follow people and just say whatever came to mind that I could not say in my life as a teacher. Well, then I got on Twitter for professional reasons, and I started interacting with my students and other educators. So to me, I've grown more. My personal Twitter, there is absolutely no growth there at all. But I tell people, if you're looking to reach out and find the good stuff, you have to be willing to get a little dirt on you before you can find that good stuff. So you just have to know how to use it. And I try to teach my students the appropriate ways to use social media when I do digital citizenship.
Okay, you might have just frozen up on us a little bit. But yeah, just as soon as you're not going to hear me say this, but as soon as Lesley comes back, then please feel free to hop right back on in. All right, so Katie.
So this is where I would go back to knowing who you're talking with. If I have a relationship with them and I think they're just being like honoring, like I would ask that hard question. Do you think you are the most awesome teacher right now? Well, yeah, that's why you get connected, to help learn some more and become even better. Because I'm like, if you're not trying to improve yourself and being that model of always learning, why are your students going to want to keep learning if you're not doing it yourself? And then the other end, if I have people being a naysayer because they're so nervous, I will invite them to my house, feed them, give them drink, whatever, and together side by side, we're doing a Twitter chat. So all the like uneasiness and the side questions are happening with me to help them out. But yeah, so I'll go to the extremes. I'll either be like really ornery with them. Hey, you got to do this because you got to get in line here and get better and be that model. Like, okay, come here, honey, it's fine. I'll help you and I'll give you a drink and some chocolate. We got this.
Yeah. And I jump in and say, you know, with the naysayers, they will always exist. And so there's going to be that endless list of people that you may feel the need to try to convince. I would just say take baby steps first and foremost, but don't try to spend your entire time convincing naysayers. They'll get it when it's time for them to get it. You just continue to model, as I've heard here stated before, just continue to model the benefits that you get out of it, the growth that you're providing for your students, and slowly but surely people will come on board when the time is right for them. And so that's the thing that we probably need to understand. We can't force anyone to do anything that they can't wrap their minds around at that particular given time.
So you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. I feel you. I totally feel you. All right, so Lesley, you're back. So if you could just, if you could please continue with what you were saying, because we lost you about halfway through, I believe. But if you had any other thoughts that we may have lost towards the tail end of what you were saying, we'd love to hear you share them again. All right, you might still be connecting. So let's go next to Victor. I saw you unmute.
Yeah, so I would say, that with a naysayer, when you have a naysayer, the thing that I really like about all the time, I think that's kind of what we're in a little bit. Like when someone just doesn't like something that they don't know about, well, I just spend time talking about all the positives that's going to happen for it, or what positive changes has happened to me because of it. I usually get the response of, well, that's just you. And I'm like, no, it's not. Because if it was just me, there wouldn't be like thousands of people trying to get involved in this. There wouldn't be an industry for it. There's an industry for this. There's an industry for connecting. There's an industry for finding information through these different social networking sites. It's a booming one too. It's good. It's going well, actually. So I just talk about the positives that I get from it, because there's a lot of them. There's tons of them. I think we spend a lot of time talking about those. They'll get tired of it. They'll tell me, that's just you. And I'm like, well, it could be you too. All you need is a phone and a couple of apps that you download to your phone. That's it. You got games downloaded on your phone. You got you have certain things on your phone, and there's a reason for them to be on your phone. Like, we probably all got email on our phone, right? Just imagine the concept of not having email on your phone. Well, all right. Imagine the concept of not being able to connect with experts at any point in time on your phone. I mean, you can only hate that so much before you have to actually acknowledge that, well, this is kind of a good idea. So, I just bring up generally all the goods that come from it, because there's a lot, and they're going to keep coming.
Yeah, right. I love being able to get connected. Like, if I didn't have a connection with Victor, when I had a restorative justice question, I don't know who I would have grabbed, but yep, he's right there for me every time.
Totally. All right. And Jody, how about you?
I try to kind of show people the benefits. So, for example, when I'm working with teachers and I don't have an answer for them, I'll say, like when I was working with math teachers and I didn't have an answer about, I don't remember, it was something with iPads and math. Like, I'm going to reach out to some people I know on Twitter and see if they have an answer for us. And then when I got back to them, I said, oh, here's what my friends on Twitter all over the country said you could do, blah, 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 blah. So I tried to kind of be a model for people when I'm reaching out to others, and tell them very explicitly. Or I'll be in a coaching meeting and I won't have an answer. Same thing. I will whip out Voxer and literally reach out to my PLN and say, hey, I'm trying to do X and Y and Z. Can someone help me? And I'll leave it open while I'm in my meeting. And then all of a sudden someone will start talking and it'll kind of freak people out, but they'll have an answer that I didn't have. So I kind of show them the power, again, of my PLN, that I don't have to have all the answers, and how quickly I can get answers through real live people. So I think that turns people around pretty quickly.
Absolutely. So I've been digging the conversation really, and I really like the part about showing rather than telling. And a lot of times when we are okay, backtrack. I'm gonna edit this part out in a podcast. So edit here. There we go. All right. So I've been loving the conversation thus far, and definitely I think that the takeaway from everything is just the need to I see you laughing at me, Victor. Is the need to connect and to share our stories, because we learn so much from one another. So one last question I wanted to ask everyone is that we are everyone who is on panel has either submitted a chapter for an EduMatch book or is in the process of submitting a chapter. And so since books are so big in education right now, I mean, they always have been, it's education, but since books for professional learning are really, kind of on the uprise, then that is yet another way that I would like to advocate for everyone to share their stories so that people can learn from and with them. And definitely just wanted to hear from each of you about what is your chapter about, or what are you thinking might be a topic of your chapter, because we're still in the writing process for the EduSnap 17, which will be coming out in December. And we also have a cookbook, which will be coming out in June. And we also have EduSnap 16, which came out last December. So if any of you want to go ahead and jump in and just kind of share what has been what's been your chapter, or what you're thinking of maybe writing, or what you have written about, that would be awesome.
Sure, I can start since mine was in the past. I was student empowerment and student voice, which is a huge, huge passion / obsession of mine. I just think that the way to help change and improve our schools is to work with our students and give them a voice in their classrooms, in their schools. It can, it'll make them happier and more confident and want to be at school and therefore learn better. And so that is what my chapter was about. And I just now 16, so.
Awesome. Great chapter. It was very student focused, student driven, which is really the path where we need to go. Excellent. All right. Anybody else want to jump in and share? Spoiler alert. No. All right. So I see.
I'm working on the cookbook, and one of the things I love so much about that is that we're still collaborating together. It's not like this huge daunting thing like, oh my goodness, I have to write, 100+ pages, because there's no such thing as spineless books. It's gotta be long enough to have a spine. So you've got a group of friends that you're working with together to make something profound for yourself, your group of authors, and other educators. Just sharing that joy with others has been the most exciting thing to me. Like, I love that I'm getting published, but I love more that I'm working with these other great people. And I'm like, oh, my name's going to be with their name. It's not like my name by itself. I love the togetherness. Totally better together concept.
Love that, better together. Absolutely. All right. So Victor, I see you unmuted.
Yeah, I got 2 chapters in the upcoming EduSnap 17. One is on teaching with restorative justice. What sort of restorative justice practices that most teachers can implement like now, that's going to help student learning, student behavior, this, that, and the other. And the other chapter I wanted to write was kind of how schools feed into the school to prison pipeline. I've really been, I want to say, obsessed. I think it's healthy to say that I've been obsessed with that since I started looking into the research on my own. I was like, are you kidding me? Like, really? We're doing things that actually lends itself to our kids going to prison, and it's stuff that, like, I mean, I could go deep into it, but I don't want to go too deep into it because we still got to sell the book, Sarah. So I'm not. I won't go too deep, but I will say, there are things that we as schools do that are counterproductive in terms of helping our kids get through life. I think there are things that we can do a lot better that we're just not doing, and we don't really seem to have any reasons for not doing these things. So that's really what my chapter is going to be mostly about.
All right, awesome.
Or chapters, I guess.
Chapters, yes, absolutely, plural. So that is awesome. Love it. I feel like singing that song, Everything is Awesome, but truly you all were awesome today. So thank you so much to all of you for chiming in and sharing your voices tonight. Thank you to everyone who was tweeting with us and who was watching with us. So we're going to put this out as a podcast probably within the next couple of days or so. So if you weren't able to tune in with us live, then you'll be able to get it in podcast form. So definitely looking forward to that. Also, if anyone listening out there or anyone on panel would like to promo a free virtual event that they have going on, be it a Twitter chat or a Voxer group or an event, then please feel free to Vox me a 15 or 30-second summary of your clip, and we'll definitely drop that in the podcast. So wanted to remind everyone watching that we will be returning tonight with the triumphant return of EduMatch Tweet and Talk. We're going to be talking about makerspaces and collaboration. So we have Allie, who's going to be moderating that for us in exactly 1 hour. So check it out at podcast.edumatch.org/tweet talk. You'll see a few changes that we've been working very hard on during the hiatus. So definitely tune in. And thank you all again for everything. See you soon.